On our 7th wedding anniversary, I saw Travis Bennett's plane tickets hidden in a drawer. I thought he was going to give me a surprise, but when I waited until the evening, I just heard that he was going on a business trip. I couldn't sleep, so I saw his first love's Weibo. My wish list when I was 18 years old: go to Iceland to see the northern lights with my loved ones. Today it finally came true. The accompanying photo is of her and Travis kissing under the aurora. I didn't cry, nor did I send him a message to question him. After chasing after him for so many years, I'm really tired. 1. I had just served the last of our spicy shrimp dish when Travis came back. In the past, I loved spicy food, but Travis couldn't eat spicy food. After being with him, I never cooked a spicy dish again. But now, I suddenly don't want to compromise anymore. Travis placed a necklace on the table. This is the pink diamond necklace that I have kept in my shopping cart for a long time but have never been willing to buy. He pursed his lips and said, "7th anniversary gift." I was so busy at work the day before yesterday that I forgot about it. "Yeah, it's okay." I picked up a shrimp and didn't look up. Travis was stunned, and the words he wanted to continue explaining were stuck in his throat. He looked at me in surprise, thinking that I would cry out of grievance like I did before, and then chase him to get to the bottom of the matter. I originally thought that I would never be able to remain calm when facing Travis cheating. On the 7th anniversary, I looked at the plane ticket in the drawer, my heart suddenly started pounding, and an inexplicable expectation came over me. The destination is to Iceland. Going to Iceland with Travis to see the northern lights was a place we had planned to go on our honeymoon. At that time, he was busy with work and had no time to go, so he put it off until now. I thought it was a surprise from Travis. I cooked a table full of food, lit candles, and waited for Travis to come home. But he came back in a hurry, without even looking at me, and went straight to the bedroom. After coming out, he left after saying, "I have some things to deal with at the company, so I'm going on a business trip," and left. He took the plane ticket from the drawer. It turned out that he wasn't going to Iceland with me to see the northern lights. It turned out that he had forgotten that today was our 7th anniversary. I stared at the carefully prepared candlelight dinner on the table, but I lost my appetite. I leaned on the sofa and looked at the silvery light outside the window. My eyes felt a little sore. After a long time, I still couldn't sleep. I opened Weibo and saw a push notification. This is the Weibo of Travis' first love, Autumn Monroe. The location is in Iceland. Caption: My wish list when I was 18 years old: to go to Iceland to see the northern lights with my loved ones. It finally came true today. The accompanying photo is of her and Travis kissing under the aurora. The phone fell to the ground with a bang. It turns out that Travis went to Iceland with Autumn. I should have guessed it. I sat in the cold living room sleepless all night. Why are all the dishes spicy? Travis sat down and was about to eat together, but frowned when he saw the spicy dishes on the table. "I thought you weren't coming back." I put down my dishes and prepared to go back to my room. He grabbed my wrist, looked at me with complicated eyes, and said after a while, "Jasmine, are you just leaving like this?" I turned around and asked, "What else? Will I still cook a midnight snack and bring it to him when he comes back from overtime like before?" 2. I was just lying in bed when my phone rang. It was a message from my boss. "Jasmine Spencer, based on my understanding of you, I have to confirm again. Have you really decided to transfer to the UK? Although I really want you to go, but you have rejected me so many times because of your family, Travis, I am a little worried, so I will ask you to confirm it again." I smiled helplessly and replied, "Don't worry, boss. This time I have really made up my mind." A year ago, the company established a branch in the UK, and the position of manager has been vacant. My boss mentioned to me many times that this opportunity was rare, and asked me to transfer there. I have been tempted for a long time. If I transfer there, not only will I get a promotion, but my annual salary will also double. But the only thing I can't let go of is Travis. When Travis was a child, his mother abandoned him and went abroad, and his father didn't care much about him. He was only 11 years old when his father moved next door to me. That day happened to be New Year's Eve, and he was sitting alone at the door in silence. When I went out to set off the fireworks, I saw his small figure huddled in the corner, looking at the fireworks in the sky with envy. Noticing that I was looking at him, Travis lowered his head and returned to his expressionless look. I stared at his thin figure, and suddenly felt a little distressed when I thought of my mother's emotional description of his experience in the morning. Can you help me set off the fireworks? I don't dare to do it alone. I handed him a handful of fireworks. He looked up blankly and reached out to take it. We set off fireworks together, and in my peripheral vision, the corners of his tightly pursed lips slightly raised. Later, I pestered him to come to my house for New Year's Eve dinner. He was not allowed to go back until his father came back drunk from playing cards. I was the one who accompanied him through that period when the boy's self-esteem was the strongest. Until we went to college, we went to different universities. Travis suddenly lost contact with me. It wasn't until the year I graduated from college that I returned home and saw him standing under the streetlight waiting for me downstairs. I looked at the figure walking towards me slowly, and in a trance everything around me stopped. His handsome features gradually became similar to the ones in my memory as time went by. Jasmine, long time no see. Haven't seen you for a long time. I looked at him, not knowing what to say. He suddenly bent down and kissed me. My heart stopped and then started beating rapidly. Travis took a long time to separate, then looked me in the eyes and asked me, Jasmine, do you want to be my girlfriend? I swallowed and said, okay. I regretted that I agreed so quickly, but he clearly knew that I had a crush on him. He did it on purpose. And just like that, almost naturally, we got married. I still remember that when I told him that I needed to go abroad for work transfer, he was silent for a long time. That night, he drank a lot of wine, looked at me with red eyes and murmured, Jasmine, are you going to leave me too? Later, I was afraid of reminding him of the sadness of being abandoned by his mother, so I never mentioned it again. But I didn't expect that in the end I was the one left behind. I bit my lip and my heart was torn into pieces bit by bit. The boss noticed something and asked cautiously, did something happen between you and Travis? I didn't reply, which was considered as my consent. After a while, she sent a message. Flowers will bloom and people will move forward, Jasmine. Believe in your own choice. The flight is at the end of the month. I will give you a month off to relax when you get there. 3. When Travis came in with the pink diamond necklace, I remembered that I had left the necklace next to me without paying attention to it. Whenever he gave me a gift in the past, I would always put it on immediately and then take a few photos and post them on WeChat moments as a commemoration. But expired gifts have long lost the expected sense of surprise. He lay down beside me and softened his tone slightly. Shall I put it on for you? I shook my head. No, it's inconvenient to wear it to work. Seeing that I still didn't follow his words, Travis lost his patience and threw the necklace aside. Jasmine, are you really that serious? Are you still angry about what happened last time? Didn't I explain it to you? We just drank too much at the party and fell asleep there, so we didn't come back. Besides, the other 3 brothers were here. So what could have happened between Autumn and me? If he hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten how stupid I was before. Last time he went out with some good friends from college and didn't come back the whole night. I was so anxious that I didn't sleep all night and looked for someone to contact him. Finally, I searched all the clubs he frequented and finally found him. When he walked in, he saw Autumn sleeping in his arms. At that time, I had a big quarrel with him regardless of the presence of other people. Travis downplayed the situation and explained that he was drunk. His brother also helped to persuade him. Yes, Autumn and we have been friends for so many years, we all regard her as a brother. It is absolutely pure friendship. But when they were having a party, I stood outside the box and heard them booing more than once. How come you two are still so in sync? Why don't you just get back together? I went home crying. Travis would comfort me at first. I really just treat her as a friend and nothing happened. Later, he said impatiently, if there was something going on between her and me, there wouldn't be anything going on between you and me later. Can you please stop making a fuss? We were in the Cold War. Until the 7th anniversary, I thought it was a sign that he was making peace with me, but I didn't expect it to be the last straw that broke the camel's back. Coming back to my senses, I looked at Travis's irritated face and said calmly, you think too much. Then continue looking down at your phone. Travis was stunned, as if he didn't expect that the words he often said would come out of my mouth. You're really not angry? He frowned at me, seemingly not believing it. Why am I angry? I raised my head and asked calmly. Travis choked and his face suddenly turned ugly. He stood up angrily, said, "I'll sleep in the guest room tonight," and left with a dark face. I don't understand. Don't lose your temper with him, don't be jealous, and don't ask questions. Isn't this what he wants? 4. The next morning, Travis actually cooked. He brought the preserved egg and lean meat porridge to the table and called me over to eat. "Are you awake? I made your favorite century egg and lean meat porridge. Come and eat it." I was dazed for a moment. Travis had no one to cook for him when he was a child, so he had to cook for himself. Growing up, he hardly ever cooked again. I can understand that. I think he doesn't want to recall the difficult times he faced as a child. After we got together, I have always been the one cooking. The only time I was in the hospital was when I had a minor surgery. He made century egg and lean meat porridge to see me. That was the most delicious century egg and lean meat porridge I had ever eaten. Later, I would occasionally act coquettishly and ask him to make it again for me to try. But he turned cold and said, "Can't you just buy it outside if you want to eat it? Do you really want me to cook it for you?" At that time, I thought I had reminded him of those bad memories, so I quickly apologized to him and never mentioned it again. However, I only found out when I saw Autumn's Weibo. During his 4 years in college, he cooked for Autumn countless times. Because Autumn couldn't get used to the food in the cafeteria, he rented a house with a kitchen outside and cooked different kinds of food for Autumn every day. Later, when Autumn returned to China and rejoined their circle, he was the one who cooked for every gathering, simply because Autumn liked the food he cooked. That night, I read through Autumn's Weibo posts one by one like a self-torturer, feeling the love between the lines, like a thief prying into other people's love. But that love should belong to me. Travis came over and put his arm around my shoulders, helped me move the chair away, and said in a rare gentle voice, "Jasmine, I'll take a rest and spend the next few days with you. Didn't you say last time that you wanted to watch the concert of that singer? Can I book a ticket and go with you? I think it's a bit ridiculous." He had clearly seen it, but he pretended not to know. Some time ago, a singer I have liked for many years finally came to my city to hold a concert. I couldn't wait to grab the tickets and ask Travis to go with me. He said he had something going on at the company that day and didn't have time. But Autumn posted on Weibo that day, "Which busy person is so busy but still accompanies me to watch a concert? Turns out to be my family." The accompanying picture is a photo of them holding hands in front of the stage. There is still a faint trace of a wedding ring on the bony ring finger in the photo. I didn't respond and just focused on eating. Travis didn't get annoyed and took out his phone to book a ticket. "If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your consent." But he searched for a long time with his phone and couldn't find the singer's concert. I glanced at the wallpaper on my phone and said sadly, "His concert tour this year is over." Travis's fingers that were sliding on the screen suddenly froze, his mouth slightly open, not knowing what to say for a moment. For a long time, he looked at me, with a look of shame in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Jasmine, I will definitely go with you to see it next year." I smiled, but the smile did not reach my eyes. "You said the same thing last year." The air in the room instantly condensed, leaving only the sound of the clock on the wall. I ignored his slightly pale face and said calmly, "I'm going to work." 5. I thought that after Travis was offended by me a few times, he would give me the cold shoulder like before. But he suddenly seemed to change his temper and sent me a message saying that he would pick me up after get off work in the evening. I didn't take it seriously. This is not the first or second time that he has stood me up because of Autumn. Once I was late in the morning, so I asked him to take me to the company. But halfway through, Autumn called and said that she had not eaten breakfast and had a little hypoglycemia, and asked if she could come and bring her breakfast. After hanging up the phone, Travis stopped the car, his voice full of worry and anxiety. "Take a taxi to the company. Autumn fainted from low blood sugar before. I'm afraid something might happen to her, so I'll bring her breakfast first." After saying that, he stepped on the accelerator and disappeared from sight. I stood under the scorching sun at 38 degrees, sweat dripping down my forehead. My heart felt like it was immersed in a pool of ice water, and the chill spread from the bottom of my heart to my whole body. Not to mention I can't get a taxi at this time. Besides, I didn't have breakfast. That day, when I walked to the company, I almost fainted from heat stroke, and my boss sent me to the hospital. So, I had given up hope on him a long time ago. Unexpectedly, when I went downstairs, I actually saw his car. When I got closer, I realized that Autumn was also in the car. She sat in the passenger seat, her long smooth legs resting on Travis' lap. There seemed to be a cut on her ankle, and a trace of blood was oozing out. Travis was lowering his head and applying medicine to her with very gentle movements. Autumn raised her eyes and suddenly hissed in pain. "It hurts." Travis glanced at her and said in a nagging tone, "I told you not to be careful." Although he was complaining, his tone could not hide the heartache. The nails dug into the palms of my hands and it hurt so much. Although I had given up long ago, my heart still ached like needles at this moment. Half of my youth was given to Travis. But a sincere heart is trampled underfoot. A car passed by and honked its horn. Travis looked up when he heard the noise. When he saw me, he was slightly stunned and explained a little uncomfortably. Autumn accidentally fell down, and I happened to be on my way, so I picked her up. I was just giving her medicine. Autumn took her legs off Travis' legs and agreed. "Yes, Travis is just applying medicine to me, Jasmine. Please don't misunderstand me." She winked at me playfully, her eyes full of smug provocation. I felt so sick that my stomach was churning. Someone was passing by and saw this scene. He looked back and forth between Travis, me and Autumn. Travis looked unhappy because of the stares. Seeing that I was still standing there, he urged me, "Get in the car." I walked over, smashed the wedding ring on his face, and said word by word, "Let's get a divorce." Travis was stunned for a moment, and by the time he reacted, I had already turned around and left. He opened the car door, strode after me, grabbed my wrist and said through gritted teeth, "You said you wanted to divorce me?" "Right." I took out the divorce agreement that I had prepared long ago from my bag and handed it to him. Travis suddenly got angry and tore the divorce agreement into pieces. "You're trying to get a divorce again. I already told you that she was injured and I was just giving her a ride. Are you still going to make a fuss about that? I'm really annoyed that you keep threatening me with divorce." Autumn also ran over with red eyes and pulled my hand. "Jasmine, you really misunderstood me and Travis. Travis and I are just friends now. If you mind, can I walk back by myself?" I pushed her away in disgust and yelled, "Don't touch me." Autumn's body swayed and she was about to fall. Travis held Autumn in his arms distressfully and yelled at me, "It's just one seat. Can't someone else sit on the passenger seat besides you?" "Jasmine, what on earth do you care about?" "What do I care about? It's nothing more than this open and above-board preference." Finally, Travis took her hand and said coldly, "Get in the car. Let her make a scene if she wants to. Let's see how long she can make a scene." After saying that, he drove away with Autumn. The sky suddenly darkened, and continuous lightning and thunder filled the entire sky. I walked in the heavy rain going in the opposite direction. 6. This is definitely not the first time Travis and I have filed for divorce. The day Autumn returned home, he left me behind to pick her up. When I saw his phone, I realized that Autumn was his first love. We had a huge argument. I accused him of having an unclear relationship with his ex and having no boundaries. He questioned me why I secretly looked at his phone and was suspicious of me all day long. In a fit of anger, I filed for divorce from him. He didn't coax me and didn't come home for several days. I was terrified and helpless and cried for several days. In the end, I was the one who compromised first and apologized to him, saying that I shouldn't have peeked at his phone and shouldn't have suspected him over some unfounded things. He knows that I love him enough, so he is so sure that I can't leave him. But this time, the disappointment has accumulated enough. Travis didn't come back for several days, just like before. I was just having a good time, packing up my things bit by bit, preparing to go to the UK at the end of the month. It wasn't until the third day that Travis' friend suddenly called me. Sister-in-law, Travis is drunk. Please come and pick him up." "No. He and I are in the process of getting a divorce, so it's not convenient." "Travis keeps calling your name, sister-in-law. Are you really not coming? You must have heard it wrong. Last time he was drunk, he called Autumn's name." Suddenly, there was a sound of a wine bottle hitting the ground from the other end of the receiver. I hung up the phone calmly. It wasn't until I opened the door and saw Autumn in the morning that I realized Travis was with her last night. When she saw me, she covered her mouth and said with an embarrassed look, "Jasmine, I don't want to bother you, but Travis drank too much and vomited all over himself, so I had to come over to help him get some clothes. Oh, I asked him to come back, but he didn't come back. I can't do anything about it. Please don't blame me. She deliberately pulled her clothes to reveal the kiss mark on her neck. I suppressed my nausea and said, "What? You're proud of being a mistress? Haven't you learned any moral principles?" Autumn's expression suddenly changed. She suddenly pushed me aside and walked inside. It was me and Travis who were together first. This is supposed to be my house. The one who is not loved is the mistress. You have no right to say that to me. My head hit the door and it became red, swollen, and hot. She hit me so hard that everything in front of my eyes became blurry. I turned around and grabbed her collar to push her out, but Travis suddenly came back. 7. He stood in front of Autumn to protect her and looked at me coldly. It's never going to end, right? You bully her once or twice, and you try to touch her again. Apologize to Autumn. I opened my mouth, but before I could say anything to curse him, tears started falling. I bit my lip tightly and pushed them out. Get out. All of you get out. I slammed the door shut, squatted behind it and sobbed. Not long after, the door was pushed open forcefully, and Travis rushed in, holding my shoulders and looking at me carefully. You're injured but don't know what to say? He took the ointment out of his pocket and gently applied it to me. I pushed him away, grabbed the ointment and smashed it on his head. I don't need you to be hypocritical. You are my wife. If I care about you, it would be hypocritical. I told you I want to divorce you, don't you understand? He yelled at me as if he was hurt. Seeing the cold eyes looking at him, I was very confused and said, "Just because I helped Autumn with the medicine, you want a divorce? Okay, I did something wrong about this matter. I didn't consider your feelings. I apologize to you. What else do you want? Is it okay for Autumn and I to keep our distance from now on?" He became angrier and angrier as he spoke, and finally he punched the bathroom door so hard that his hand turned purple in an instant. I looked at his angry face in the mirror. Suddenly I realized that I never understood him all these years. He thought that as long as I didn't see him and Autumn rolling into bed with my own eyes, he could just pretend nothing happened and he could stand on his emotional high ground and accuse me of making a fuss. He just wants me to give in to him and continue to love him as if I knew nothing. My body couldn't help but tremble and tears fell unconsciously. Travis' expression softened. He raised his hand to wipe the tears off my cheeks, and softened his voice. Okay, Jasmine, we have been together for so many years, and are the most important people in each other's lives. Please stop talking about divorce and hurting my feelings, okay? It's my fault this time. I promise I won't do this again, okay? He always does this, giving a slap and then a sweet date. Every time he does this, I can't do anything about him. But this time it didn't work. I raised my head and looked at him with tears in my eyes. Travis, if you don't contact Autumn within a week, I will not mention divorce anymore. A smile spread across his face. Is it that simple? I nodded. It was very simple. But I know he can't do it. 8. Travis started coming back early. On the first day, he brought me a bouquet of eustoma flowers, which I liked. The next day, he turned down a party and accompanied me to eat my favorite hot pot. On the third day, he accompanied me to the gym to exercise together. On the fourth day, we had dinner at home, which he cooked. On the last day, I made an appointment with Autumn. An hour later, she finally arrived. She sat in front of me with delicate makeup on, and started sarcastically, "Why didn't you stay at home to take care of Travis, but you had time to ask me out? Are you here to warn me not to contact Travis again? It's no use looking for me. After all, I won't control his friendships." She chuckled, her tone unable to hide the pride. "It seems to be telling me I just want to steal your husband. What can you do about it?" I suddenly raised my hand and slapped her. The surroundings suddenly became silent, with only the crisp sound echoing in the air. Autumn was stunned, covering her face. She looked at me in disbelief and asked through gritted teeth, "Why do you hit me?" I wiped my hands slowly and said calmly, "You and my husband were traveling together and kissing. Shouldn't I hit you?" Her face turned pale and then she sneered, "You just realized it? My Weibo is for you to see. Matters of love cannot be locked up with just a certificate." I took a sip of coffee and looked at her casually. "As you wish, Travis and I are getting a divorce. Seeing a triumphant smile slowly forming on her lips, I continued. But he disagreed. I told him that if he doesn't contact you for a week, I will never mention divorce again. Today is the last day. Seeing Autumn's disappointed and unwilling expression, I stood up and smiled at her. See if you have the ability to make him break our agreement for you. I'll wait and see. Autumn yelled at my back. Jasmine, just wait and see. 9. In the evening, Travis still arrives home on time. Perhaps because he knew that tonight was the last day of the deadline I had mentioned, he was in an especially good mood. He hugged me from behind and said gently, Jasmine, let's go to the restaurant where we had our first date tonight, so that we can make up for our 7th anniversary. Okay? When we arrived at the restaurant, it was still in the same location as before. The warm yellow light shone on his face, softening the hard edges. In a trance, it seemed as if he had turned back into the youthful him. At that time, he watched me cut the steak and chuckled. Jasmine, why are you still so cute? After saying that, he took the knife and fork from my hand, cut a piece of steak skillfully and fed it to my mouth. I have always known that Travis is very smart. After leaving his original family, he used his major to start a business in college. After graduating from college, he opened his own company and achieved financial freedom, no longer having to worry about going hungry. He was also very romantic, and he produced a bunch of red roses from nowhere and placed them on the table. A rose for the beautiful lady to celebrate our first day of dating. When I came to my senses, there was a bouquet of red roses on the dining table, just like the one that year, and the same set meal was served. Enjoy your meal, both of you. The music started, the lights dimmed, and the atmosphere was just right. Travis's phone suddenly rang. You don't need to look to know it's Autumn. He looked a little flustered and hung up. The call came again and again. I stood up tactfully and said, I'm going to the bathroom. Travis seemed to be relieved and nodded stiffly. Good. When I came back, I heard the Autumn Jasmine crying in the rain. Travis, why have you ignored me for so many days? You obviously still have me in your heart. Don't touch me. Go away. Travis' voice tightened and he quickly asked, Autumn, where are you? What's wrong with you? I was drinking at a bar, and a man kept harassing me. I was so scared. I was really scared. Travis, come pick me up. Travis hurriedly grabbed the car keys and was about to walk out, but when he turned around, he bumped into me from behind. He pursed his lips and avoided my eyes. Jasmine. I'm sorry. Autumn was in danger at the bar. She was in danger because of the bar I went to. I can't just ignore her. I'll take her home and then come back to have dinner with you. He added. I asked, do you really have to go? You promised me. Travis looked at me, silent for a while. A layer of ice slowly appeared in his eyes. Jasmine, I remember you being very empathetic. Why can't we be more tolerant towards someone in danger? Okay, I promise I'll be back after I drop her off. After saying that, he trotted out the door. Before getting in the car, he turned around and looked at me through the window. I waved goodbye to him. He closed the door, started the car, and disappeared. I sat down again and enjoyed my dinner calmly. 10. When I got home, I took out the printed divorce agreement and placed it on the bedside table. Then I picked up the suitcase that I had packed long ago, closed the door and left. While sitting on the plane to the UK, I received a text message and photos from Autumn. In the photo, Travis was lying next to her, with his bare shoulders exposed. You lose that. He fell asleep next to me. He won't be coming back tonight. You should divorce him quickly. You can't win against me. She triumphantly announced her victory to me. I laughed. She won. But I didn't lose either. I saved the photo to my phone and sent it to Travis. Sign the divorce agreement. Then block all his contact information one by one. 11. When Travis woke up, he saw Autumn lying next to him. His eyes widened with fear and he quickly stood up. He didn't remember how he ended up sleeping with Autumn. He clearly remembered that he was ready to leave when he sent her home. But last night, Autumn suddenly hugged him from behind and cried, Travis, will you stay with me for a while? I'm still so scared. I know you want to go back to see Jasmine, so just have another drink with me, and I won't bother you again. There was a little man in Travis' mind yelling at him to refuse. He promised Jasmine that he would go back and have dinner with her. He had forgotten the last 7th anniversary. This time he couldn't break his promise. But Autumn couldn't stop shaking while holding his hands, crying pitifully. He sighed, turned around and patted her back gently. I'll stay with you for a little while longer. I really have to go. Jasmine is still waiting for me. This, he told himself, was the last time he would indulge himself. After this time he would stay with Jasmine. But after drinking he didn't remember what happened. When I woke up again I was in Autumn's bed. An inexplicable sense of panic welled up in my heart. He recalled the way Jasmine looked at him when she left last night. There was no grievance or anger in her eyes. I just waved goodbye to him calmly, as if I was relieved that I would never see him again. As this thought flashed through his mind, it seemed as if countless mosquitoes were flying in his mind, making a shrill buzzing sound, gnawing at his heart. Travis quickly put on his clothes and stumbled out to go home to find Jasmine. The countless red lights on the road seemed to be constantly increasing the distance between him and Jasmine. He became increasingly anxious. It's fine. It's fine. Jasmine has liked him since she was a child. And he is the only person Jasmine has ever liked in her life. She wouldn't be mad at him for long. At worst, he could just coax her a little more this time. 12. When Travis got home, he noticed that the house was exceptionally clean. So clean that it seemed like something was missing. He didn't dare to think about it. Rushed to the bedroom, praying that Jasmine was still asleep. But there was no such thing in the bedroom. The neat bed was still the same as Jasmine had made it yesterday morning. She didn't come back all night. His body was shaking slightly, and he searched every corner of the house, but there was no sign of Jasmine. In other words, there is no trace of Jasmine. He finally knew what was missing, something of Jasmine's. Travis' heart felt like it was being strangled by something, and the pain spread throughout his body. He took out his cell phone and wanted to call Jasmine, but the phone ran out of battery and turned off. He ran over to get the charger, but because he was in such a hurry he fell down and then he struggled to crawl over. While waiting for the machine to start up, his body tensed, his breathing became more and more rapid, and he felt as if a sword was hanging over his head, ready to fall in the next second. The sword above his head finally fell. One sentence and one photo determined his fate. He picked up the divorce agreement signed by Jasmine on the bedside table and looked at it for a long time. A hot tear fell on the paper, blurring the words. He fell to the ground, his expression full of pain and regret. No, Jasmine wouldn't be that cruel. Travis comforted himself. If he went to apologize to her and explain, she would forgive him. After all, she has always been soft-hearted. But he couldn't contact her. Jasmine blocked him. He ran to her company like crazy, only to learn that she had been transferred to another job and had gone to England last night. He suddenly remembered that a year ago, Jasmine excitedly told him that she was going to get a promotion and a raise, and asked him if he would like to go to the UK with her. Travis admitted that he was a bit mean. He didn't want to go abroad like his mother, nor did he want her to leave him. That was the first time he showed his vulnerable side in front of Jasmine. As expected, she felt sorry for him and never mentioned the matter again. But now she no longer felt sorry for him and left him alone. Travis asked with difficulty, "When did she plan to go abroad?" 1 month ago. 1 month ago. It was their 7th wedding anniversary. So, at that time she had already made up her mind to leave him? He closed his eyes in pain and suddenly slapped himself hard. 14. After arriving in the UK, everything went smoothly. The work went on in an orderly manner, the rented house had a large yard, and the neighbors were also lovely. I thought Travis would take this opportunity to get back together with Autumn. Unexpectedly, he came to London. After I got off work, I saw Travis waiting at the door of my house. I haven't seen him for a month. He has lost a lot of weight, has dark circles under his eyes, and looks very depressed, completely different from his previous energetic appearance. In my impression, he always pays attention to his image. He looked a little strange like this. I suddenly felt a mixture of emotions. There is no pleasure of revenge, nor is there any sour heartache. What's more, there is a sense of loss that I can never go back to. Seeing him coming, I walked around him, opened the door and went home. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Jasmine, I'm sorry. Things are not what you see. Can I explain it to you? I pulled my hand back and shook my head. It's not important. You know, the last incident didn't happen between us. Throughout our 7-year marriage, he was always lukewarm towards me and never bothered to explain anything to me. Now that I am tired, he has come all the way to the other side of the ocean to explain to me the thing he was most reluctant to do before. His face turned pale, and he was choking with sobs and could hardly speak. It's important. You can't sentence me to death just because of a photo. I looked at people passing by and sighed. Forget it, just come in and talk. Travis followed me into the house and said anxiously, Jasmine, nothing happened between Autumn and me that night. She drugged my drink and took off my clothes to take the video. If you don't believe me, I can confront her face to face, really. Perhaps because of my cold expression, Travis' eyes turned red with anxiety. I know I shouldn't have gone that night. I was wrong, Jasmine. I promise I won't do it again. Can we stay together? If you want to stay in England, I will stay with you. I looked at him with disappointment in my eyes. Only that one time? The anger that had been suppressed in my heart for so long was about to burst out. What made him hold on to luck until the end, betting that I only knew that one thing and that he could hide it from the world? 15. Travis was stunned for a moment, looking away from me, and nodded. I took out my phone and clicked on Autumn's Weibo. I put the photos of them kissing under the aurora, as well as every detail of their past, in front of him. Travis, do you think I'm particularly stupid? Do you know how happy I was when I saw the 2 plane tickets you hid in the drawer on our 7th anniversary? I thought you wanted to give me a surprise, but it turned out to be a huge deception. What were you thinking when you kissed her under the northern lights? Did you ever think that the destination we chose for our honeymoon was Iceland? When you said you were busy, were you really busy? Or were you just going to see the northern lights with the girl you loved the most when you were 18? You've always had her in your heart. So why did you come back to me the year you graduated from college? You obviously knew I liked you, but you suddenly cut off contact with me and suddenly came back to ask me if we wanted to be together. What did you regard me as? A backup option. I stared at him with blurred vision. The dull pain in my heart turned into a sharp knife stirring. All the sadness and sorrow over the years poured out like a tide at this moment. The pain was suffocating. Travis' face lost all color. His mouth slightly opened, but he couldn't refute a word. He looked at me with endless pain, guilt, and regret in his eyes. No, Jasmine. I love you. Autumn is just my unwillingness at a young age. I am now absolutely sure that the person I love is you. Can you give me another chance to make amends? He looked at me almost humbly, with begging in his eyes. As proud as he was, he bent down for me for the first time. But it was too late. I looked at him calmly and smiled softly. But I don't love you anymore. 16. Travis was struck by lightning, and stood there in a daze, muttering to himself, No, you won't stop loving me. How could you suddenly stop loving me? I looked at him indifferently, unwilling to believe his painful and struggling expression. It wasn't about how much he loved me and how much he couldn't let me go. It's just that I have loved him for too long and he finds it hard to accept it for the time being. Let's part ways amicably. Stop disturbing my life. You are free now and can love the one you truly love. I checked the time and signaled him to go. After leaving him, I picked up my college hobby again, skydiving. Before I was with him, I had always been a person who liked all kinds of new things and was adventurous. Always be curious and passionate about life, and always have vigorous vitality. Later, more and more disappointments and internal conflicts eroded my innocence and passion. Travis refused to leave. He said he couldn't live without me. I was so angry that I laughed. When we were together, he didn't come home for 10 days or half a month, but now he says he can't live without me. What was he doing before? I called the property staff to take him away. After arriving in the UK, I joined a skydiving camp near my home. After a few test flights, I gradually regained the feeling I had before. The coach told me that there would be a skydiving competition in the camp in a week, with generous prizes. I signed up without hesitation, even though I might only win a participation award, but I could dance in the seaside town and unlock different scenery. On the day of the competition, I put on a cool purple smoky makeup and received a lot of exaggerated but sincere compliments. While waiting in the sky, I felt nervous and expectant. The brief free fall was accompanied by the whirring sound of the wind and the shouts of the onlookers. Then it flew steadily like a bird. At that moment it was as if I had a god's perspective. As far as I could see, there was a blue sea and neatly arranged houses. After landing, I took off my helmet and the coach hung the second-place medal around my neck. Jasmine, I'm proud of you. I let out a long sigh and gave him a big hug. 17. Before I could even finish my breath, I saw Travis walking towards me with a bouquet of flowers. There was a flash of amazement in his eyes, and a hint of excitement in his voice. Jasmine, you are amazing. I didn't know you could skydive before. Also, your makeup today is also very special. It looks very nice and suits you very well. He handed the flowers to me and looked at me almost greedily. When a companion saw this, his eyes widened and he came over to gossip. Jasmine, who is he? I replied to him in front of him. My ex-husband who had an ambiguous relationship with my first love. My companion immediately rolled his eyes, took a bouquet of flowers half my height from the prize, and deliberately pushed Travis aside to hand it to me. Congratulations, Jasmine. Flowers like this are worthy of you. I couldn't help laughing. I took the flower and thanked him. Thank you. After saying that, I left with the flowers without even looking at Travis. He chased after me and grabbed my wrist, his voice trembling. Jasmine, I've made it clear to her. She won't bother us anymore. Please don't be so cruel to me. Today is the day I won the award, and I really don't want to hear his confession on such a great day. So I shook off his hand, flicked my hair and interrupted him. Sorry, I have an appointment and don't have time to listen to your long speech. 18. I didn't expect that Travis still didn't give up. He bought a house nearby and moved in. Maybe it was because I had been soft-hearted towards him time and time again over the years, making him think that as long as he held on a little longer, I would forgive him sooner or later. I shook my head helplessly and didn't even look at him. He was not discouraged at all and seemed to want to pursue me again. He stood at my door every day with flowers and gifts. For this reason, I don't even go out to bask in the sun in the yard. Until my neighbor Ryan came back from a trip and brought me some local specialties. Travis followed in angrily. His eyes fell on Ryan and me, and he asked angrily, He's the guy you were dating that day, right? Are you guys together? How far have you gotten to? After the collapse of the questioning, he closed his eyes in pain and said in a hoarse voice, You are taking revenge on me, right? I suppressed my anger and looked at him indifferently. Don't think I'm as dirty as you. We haven't divorced yet. I still have the most basic sense of propriety and morality. He suddenly lost his temper, smiled awkwardly and said in a hoarse voice, Jasmine, please don't say that to me, okay? I finally understand how you feel. You were so sad at that time. I was the bastard. Well, just sign the divorce papers. I interrupted him coldly without any emotion. Travis was silent for a long time, and then tears fell from his eyes. Do I really have no chance at all? I looked at the person I once loved so much and said, What has happened cannot be erased. I can't blind myself and pretend not to see the rift between us, nor can I pretend nothing happened and patch it up day and night. Travis burst into tears and choked up, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jasmine. He signed the divorce agreement, turned around and slowly disappeared from sight. I watched his lonely figure gradually melt into the sunset in the sky. The days of youth also fell with the sunset. 19. 2 years later, I was promoted to general manager of the branch. Looking at myself in the mirror, I seem more energetic than in the past 2 years. Passers-by often mistake him for a student from the college next door. I am very satisfied with this situation. Whenever I have a vacation, I travel around the world to see the scenery I have never seen. While watching the sea in the Maldives, I suddenly received a message from a friend in China. It's karma. After Travis returned to China, Autumn pestered him for 2 years to marry her, but he never gave in. A few days ago, Autumn suddenly went crazy and hit him with her car, saying that he would never be able to live without her for the rest of his life. As a result, he was arrested by the police that day and sentenced for intentional injury. Travis is still lying in the hospital, and no friends have visited him. Finally, the friend hesitated. Jasmine, do you want to go back and see him? I smiled and said, I'm traveling around the world. When I come to his city someday, I might go visit him. The clouds are reflected in the sea and move quietly. Time and I are moving forward.